Welcome to this interview that I'm having with Lance Loubser. And Lance has a nickname, which is Frodo. And I absolutely love that because, it's a character that's very endearing. A lot of people know who Frodo is. So, Lance, welcome to this interview. So where did you get the nickname from?
Well, it started off as a nickname and eventually it became a second name. So when I was about grade 5 or grade 6, I ended up I always walked around barefoot to start off with. Growing up in a holiday resort just made sense, but there was like stones and thorns and everything. So I didn't wear shoes and I was managed to walk over it. No, I don't have the hairiest feet that is out there, so that wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
My hair would always be curly as well from swimming often and then, getting out the water, letting it dry naturally. So then I ended up looking a lot like what Frodo Baggins did look like.
Okay.
And, I thought grade 6 and 7, fine, I can be called Frodo and that's how it goes. And then I ended up in high school and apparently one of my friends from the holiday resort was friends with a couple of people that were in my year. And they actually let them know that there's going to be a guy named Frodo. You'll be able to spot him out. You won't even have to realize. And so I started being called Frodo in grade 8, and it just continued through until about grade 10, where I stopped being able to respond to the name Lance because everyone called me Frodo so often, to the point that my Afrikaans teacher back then called me Frodo as well as my music teacher. So we ended up having teachers calling me Frodo. And by the time I turned 19, my mom told me, look, we can either get you another tattoo or we can buy you a second name. And I thought, well, let's go for it. Like, I don't have any tattoo ideas because back then I was very big in the tattoo scene. Not anymore. But I ended up just going to Home Affairs and purchasing the name Frodo. And it ended up becoming a thing that stuck to the point that my mom actually came to me and told me, when she looked at my passport, she's like, oh, no, you did this wrong. And I was like, wait, but you told me I can get Frodo. So how am I doing this wrong? She's like, no, you were meant to make Frodo your first name and then Lance. But now it sticks as Lance Frodo instead.
Okay, I actually think it has a nice ring to it. And I believe we went to the same school back in the day. So where did you go to school? If you could just tell the audience.
I went to Paul Boys High.
Yes,
from
like
primary school all the way to matric.
Okay, that is awesome. I went to Paul Boys Primary and it's a sports school. And the reason why I interview you is because we are going to talk about a specific sport right now that is trying to get recognition. That top that you have on right now, I actually would like you to show it to the people. If you could just get up and turn around quickly. It's actually very colorful. It looks really beautiful. Okay, that looks like a cobra on there. I see South Africa. That's quite exciting.
Yes.
Okay, and if you turn around, it's got Loubser 44 and Dodgeball. Okay,
Correct.
so tell me about the sport that you're playing. So, are you a member of the South African team? Where did you get the shirt from? Did you just buy it in a shop somewhere?
So I've been a member of the Green Mambas, which is the South African dodgeball team, since 2018. We, as dodgeball in South Africa, started out in 2015 as just a little bit of a social committee, for parties and events. And then in 2017, we became an official South African dodgeball side when we finally went to face Egypt in the African Cup of Nations. Right after that, we managed to be invited to the World Invitational in New York in 2018. I unfortunately was not part of that team just yet. I managed to join the team straight after, to which we got to take on Egypt for a second time, which is down here in Stellenbosch in 2019. And again, we just took them on now this year in Somerset West. So it is this whole thing about how we've grown, and Egypt has been our only African rival going into this, and as such we've been comparing ourselves to how we fare against them, and the improvement has been so great, seeing as not just for myself but every single other player that's been on the team with me that's grown through every single tournament. You can see how we are we are comparing to them, and we are doing much better. And we had our under 19 ladies team actually beat them this year, and that was under 21 ladies team, sorry, beat them this year, and that was absolutely fantastic to see just how much we've improved over the short span of what would be 7 years, with having to take what is a 2-year break in between.
Okay, so what was it like to, I mean, get going, and then the whole COVID-19 pandemic started, which just put a freeze on everything. Could you still practice, or was everything just dead during that time?
So when the pandemic first took off, we thought that it was going to be a short little thing that was going to pass by quickly. So we did home fitness because we weren't able to see each other, but we made sure that there was a way that we could keep up with the fitness, because the World Cup was meant to be done in 2020.
Okay.
And so with that, we were pushing ourselves throughout fitness until, the levels just started increasing of lockdown, and put us in a position to where we might have to take a break. Everybody has to keep up their own personal fitness, but we'll have to wait to hear what's going to happen. And that did put a bit of a damper on the progress we were making as a team that was gelling and actually getting there to work its way up to World Cup. We have lost a couple of members, not from COVID at least, but
yeah,
due to age, they've fallen out. And as such, we've now got a newer team that has now got the potential to go forward. So in a way, it's been both a blessing and a curse at the same time, because we've got this new interest, which just rocked up near the end of last year, and they've been playing so well. And then, of course, we lost a few of our good players, which could have maybe strengthened the side a bit more from an experience point of view. So as I said, it's been both good and bad, but we learned to adapt, and we're just going to continue adapting if any other circumstance happens.
Okay, the new players coming into the team, what is that like for them? Because the sport is fairly new in South Africa. Who do you play against for practice?
So for practice, it is very much, like you said, it's very new. We generally be playing against each other, make the team smaller, so we can take each other on. And every now and then we host the Joburg side, or we will go up to Joburg, and then we have a little bit of a Western Province versus Gauteng, just show off on how it's going. And as I said, in 2020, 2019, Joburg was very few members that could join, and since then Joburg especially has grown. It's been amazing to see, and that's where a lot of the newbies have come from. And when I saw them play at AFCON, it was shocking to see how well they done, because that was the first time we actually got to play with them and see them play since we actually played. So like I said, it's amazing to see these new people from Joburg, and of course the new people from the Western Cape that are stepping up, and they are telling us more experienced players, the more older players, like we have to watch out because they're coming.
Well, the sport of dodgeball, tell me more about it, just briefly. What is it like? Is it a family sport? Where do you play it? Where are the arenas? What setting do you use? What equipment do you use? Is it expensive to take part? If people want to get involved, we can obviously give contacts, people that can contact either you or whoever represents the sport. So if you could just break that down for the audience.
Okay, perfect. So when it comes to dodgeball, we have both the competitive side and we have the social side. The social side is a lot more freeing, a lot less stressful, which is definitely, we use it for birthday parties, corporate events, and you can get anybody of any age to play. All you're going to need is some shoes to wear. Unless, of course, you are playing on the grass outside, which we do have an outside arena. But for competitive, we'll always be playing indoors on what would be a smooth surface. 6 people aside with a total of 12 people per team. 5 balls on the court at all times, and it is literally just this very hyped up game where everyone thinks it is just about throwing and catching, and in essence that is the main aim of the game, is to throw out your opponent or catch out your opponent.
Okay.
But going into a competitive nature, you can see that there's a lot of strategy and tactics that have to be put into consideration. That being said, we are always open to new people coming and joining our social practices. Or, of course, if they want to host social events, then we always have the arena up for anybody that wants to host a whole dodgeball event, where we will teach you all about dodgeball as well. To get in touch, to get that going, you just got to go onto Dodgeball SA or Dodgeball South Africa. You can find them on Facebook, and you can literally just message there. We have a great admin department that is always on and always willing to talk. And then, of course, we have general social practices, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it's on Wednesdays in Gauteng region and on Thursdays in the Western Cape, where
Okay,
you
but
can come and you can join and you can experience it.
Okay, awesome. We can put those details in the description below the video. We can put it in the first comment too. And I can pin that so that the people will be able, that are interested in getting involved or just watching a game, to support you, so that people can get involved, because I think you would want people to support you at such a match. So what tournaments are coming up for the team, and what does it take for you to get to these tournaments with regards to qualification, etc.?
Okay, so when it comes to, well, what's up next is going to be the World Cup of Dodgeball, which is taking place in Cairo in Egypt.
Okay, so that's
And
bigger
with
than the
this,
African Cup of Nations, right?
that is bigger than African Cup of Nations. African Cup of Nations serves as a qualification to get into the World Cup.
Okay.
So you'd have to place within in a grouping setting of, if the African Cup of Nations is 4 or more, you'd have to be set in the top 2 to get the invitation to come to the World Cup. Or if it is less, then you'd have to be on top of the log to get into the World Cup.
Okay.
So this is the qualifications you have to go through just to play World Cup. When it comes to African Cup of Nations, it is open to, as it states, all nations that play dodgeball within the African continent. And that our next one we're looking in 2019, we are, as I said, it's been us and Egypt going forward. We are looking that, we've been told that there's a possibility of Ivory Coast joining and Nigeria, and we're going to have a bit more teams going forward. As, like I said, as this pandemic has died down, now the people are starting to get back to their dodgeball focus, and actually will get the sport as a whole growing, not just in Africa, but in the whole world. Dodgeball is going to be growing as it has been.
So, okay, so where is dodgeball big at the moment in the world?
Dodgeball is very big in Europe currently. Okay. Europe and America, and a lot of throughout Asia. You'll find much more teams that are participating. It is a lot more competitive because they have these teams, so they get to have constant, constant matches against each other. I know that America and Canada, you can see it throughout YouTube. They're always taking each other on. It's great practice for them. But yes, for now, I'd say Europe would probably be your biggest and most competitive region.
Who are the world champions at this stage, from the World Cup?
From the World Cup, I can only judge from the last World Cup, which would be 2019. And that would have been Denmark. Okay,
so Denmark is currently, although that's a long time ago, they are currently the what you would call the world champions based on the World Cup.
Yes, but that being said, it is, since then we've gotten Dodgeball Federation and Dodgeball Association splits. So, for instance, this World Cup, we will not be seeing the likes of Denmark because they would have gone towards the Dodgeball Federation.
So this happens often in sport, right? where things go in two different directions, and depending which country you're in, they will choose a specific direction. And how do you feel about things like that?
And so, being that you want to take on the best in the world all the time, it is sad that you have the split, but at the same time, as has happened in all sports, eventually it all merges into one. If dodgeball gets its athletic status, then I'm pretty sure it's all just going to go into one, not just a federation or association. It's just going to go to one place where everyone's going to take each other, all the best countries.
Okay, so is there an application for Olympic status at this stage?
So that has to be done through the World Dodgeball Council. From what I understand, they are in the process, but as you know, as the Olympics are, they're not going to always put in new sports. There's has to go through a lot of trials just to get a new sport involved in the Olympics.
And people need to be interested. So you actually need viewers, etc. And I mean, to get that, governments need to actually expose people to a sport like dodgeball, for instance. So it's not a sport where I assume people can get injured or anything like that. So there's probably no reason for it not to become big, and for people to be interested in it. Why should people want to watch dodgeball or play dodgeball?
So it's just all about the excitement. It is this constant thrill of there's a ball going to come at my head at any second. I got to get out the way. Or when you're watching it,
adrenaline rush.
Very, very much. It is based around a lot of action sports. It is quick paced. Like every single game is based around 3 minutes before you have a swap. Or every round is based around 3 minutes before a game of 30 minutes. Of course, you try and finish that in a lot quicker time so you can get more points going forward. So that is always high paced. You have this constant back and forth, and even for people who are watching it, we've seen people that know absolutely nothing about dodgeball end up just standing and staring at what's happening in the sport, because it doesn't look or it doesn't sound as appealing from just throwing and catching. But when you look at the actual game of how you have to move and the actual dodges that happen when the human reflex kicks in, what you can do is always a spectacle to see.
Okay, it's really been awesome talking to you about dodgeball, and congratulations on being in the South African team. And I'm sure you are all excited going to the World Cup, which you say is taking place in Egypt. Has the government at all been able to assist your team with funding for things like that? Do you get anything from government?
So as is currently, we are in the process of getting our SASCOC approval, which would then allow us to participate as an official South African sport. And right now we are currently participating as what would be a private South African sport.
Okay, so at this stage, you're getting no assistance from government. So you actually have to make your own way. Is that basically, wow. So has anyone ever been to these cups in other countries, or World Cups in other countries, or traveled to other countries and had to actually do it out of their own pocket?
So like we said with New York, we also had to come out of our own pocket. We always are open to sponsorships, and of course people that are willing to sponsor, and as such we've gotten a few companies that are involved, such as our shirt sponsor, Sweat Gear, who have helped us, and of course our sock sponsor, which is Wonky Tom. And so
if people want to get involved,
smaller sponsors.
Okay, so if people want to get involved in dodgeball, if they actually like what you are doing, the fact that you want to grow the sport, I think it's an excellent sport that can grow throughout the country, especially in informal settlements. There's very little that you need to actually play the sport, according to what I can see. So I think it's something that can take off. And initially, you can start playing it in a netball court or tennis court or something like that, I presume.
That is correct. Yes.
Just to just get going, or in a square at a school or whatever. So I think that's
school hall, yes.
Yeah, that's really appealing, actually, if you think about it. So if someone wants to get involved and sponsor the team, help the South African team, then do they contact the same organization? Is there a specific person they need to contact?
So they can contact the South African Dodgeball Federation, which is also on the South African Dodgeball page, and they can get involved like that.
And or the
That would
website?
probably on the so that would be on Facebook, again, on the Facebook page.
Okay.
I've that is basically how Dodgeball has grown, is a lot through social media, through a
I
lot
can
of word of
imagine.
mouth for now.
Okay.
And as such, that has been our main source of going
Okay, so
and
the
spreading
Facebook
it.
page is the best place for people to go to find out about Dodgeball, make contacts, in messages, etc. And there's someone that will respond. I assume if people say that they want to get involved or help.
Yes, there is. There's always people monitoring that page constantly, which respond very quickly.
Okay, that is really awesome. So when exactly are you going to Egypt?
So the World Cup will take place from the 12th to the 17th of December.
Okay.
We're probably going to fly out a little bit earlier just to make sure that we climatize and that we are ready to go.
Okay, so that is just over 2 months away. So it's not that far from now.
Yes.
Okay, so if anyone wants to help the team to get there, or yourself to get there, how could they do that?
So
what is the team doing to try and raise funds to actually get?
So to try and raise funds right now, I've got my personal Backer Buddy account that's going open, which is accepting to any donations to help towards getting us to Africa, to the World Cup, as well as we have a raffle sale that is running, to which is also helping players to get to the World Cup.
Okay, so how can people take part in this raffle? We also on the Facebook page?
So there is a raffle link on the Facebook page. I'll also put the link down in the description.
Okay.
For anybody who wants to go straight there. Basically, how it works is you would go on, you would choose how many raffle tickets you wish to purchase, and of course you would select a player's name. What would then happen is a portion of that raffle sale will go straight to that player's funding.
Okay. Okay, that sounds really awesome. The fact that they are trying to do something like that, and what are they raffling off? So
there is over 100 prizes.
Oh my goodness!
Go over a couple of them right now.
That sounds extensive. No, I think think the channel members can go and have a look and actually see what's all available. But I suppose at the end of the day,
see the prices. Yes.
Yeah, I suppose at the end of the day, the main idea is that that there's donations for funds to be raised to actually go to the World Cup. I think that's the main idea, and I hope that the channel members will like what they see, the fact that there's people trying to do something. Have you tried to do any outreaches where you try and reach out to schools, etc., to try and promote the sport at all?
So we have got schools that are currently playing dodgeball, especially in the southern suburbs. We have a lot of schools that are actually managing to take each other on as we have grown. A lot of our junior players actually started off at what was called the Claremont Vipers, which started off as a little school thing that all the school kids could come together within Claremont and actually just play together. And a lot of them are now part of our under 21 sides. So we are looking, our whole thing is to look at future development. So we are focusing a lot around schools, and also a lot around communities, as you say, that don't have a lot of sports or opportunity. And we are expanding, and we are looking to grow the sport as big as we can. Schools, undeveloped areas, underdeveloped areas. This is generally where we are going. We are doing a full outreach to all of them, and as well as we also open it up to, as I said, you can hire Dodgeball SA for certain events as well, if that's what you want to do. We've had a few bachelor parties as well, which gets quite fun. and of course, just general school events.
I would vote for that one instead of many of the other things that people would get up to.
Yes.
A dodgeball bachelor party. That sounds like a lot of fun. Lance, or shall I rather say Frodo, thanks so much for speaking to myself and the members. We are passionate about South Africa, and to me, sports and arts are so important for the country going forward, because I see something like this developing where if you had a community fair or whatever, you could have games of dodgeball being played in areas, even if the balls go flying all over the place. I think it's probably an awesome thing just for kids to do. And it's better that they do that than sit on their cell phones. So I really want to commend you for being involved in something like this, and for being willing to speak. And is there any last thing that you want to say to the South African public and to the members on this channel with regards to the sport and your future endeavors?
Just for everybody, like, I would say definitely give dodgeball a try. You won't know something until you try it. And honestly, the response we've gotten is over 90% of people who have tried dodgeball for the first time want to come back, even those that got thrown in the face the very first time. Also, as Dodgeball, we are always looking for more sponsors. So if you really want to get involved, please do go on our Facebook page and please do speak. We are looking to grow the sport as big as what we can. And we're looking to get as many provinces involved to make us an official SASCOC approved government sport going forward. And that way we can partake in every single African Cup of Nations and every single World Cup or World Cup Invitational that does come, and not have to worry so much about funding.
Well, thank you very much for your passion and just being willing to play a sport. It's an inspiration to everyone. I always tell people that you need to keep mentally and spiritually fit. And, you know, I definitely need to lose some weight. So maybe I should rock up for a dodgeball game, but I probably pull a couple of muscles in the process. So I will certainly have to loosen up a bit first. But thank you very much for joining us and telling us about your journey. I think I'll interview you in another month's time to see how you're doing and how the preparations are going.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.